Hello, Adrian here. So we've done the basics of moving around the viewport with our WASDs and our right clicks and our middle mouse buttons and our zoomy camera up here. We want to see what the rest of these sort of bars and buttons and windows are, because these are what we sort of use to interact with Unreal and actually do work, not just fly around our model like we're having a whole bunch of fun, which we can do later, but now we need to actually edit this stuff and actually understand what we're looking at. So across the top we have, of course, the tab, because this is actually a bit of tabbed software. So if I really want to grab, let's say, this one up here, I can, actually I can't do it, that one there. Okay, but you can actually have multiple tabs of different types of windows, and you can sort of tab them like you have with the details panel and world outliner here, or you can dock them similar to how a lot of Autodesk software works. So as you can see, we have these little regions. We can dock it to the right, left, top, and bottom. And so now these are separated again. And you can do this with pretty much any window. And the windows that we're looking at currently, which are the basic windows, I guess. So if you open up a new Unreal file, these are the ones you should be seeing. You have the normal sort of file if you want to save your progress, make new levels, because of course we're working in levels, make a new project, export things, that's all in there. Edit is like undo and your overall software settings. So the settings for this project, these are specific to the project, but we'll talk about that later. Your windows, in case you've deleted one of these windows, you can bring them back. So, or if you haven't opened it before, so say I want to open this levels tab, we can see that we're in the base level. So this is sort of your default level, but we don't need that at the moment. Over across the top of your viewport, you have kind of the, these are sort of overarching buttons over what you'll be doing. So these are a lot to do with sort of exporting your model and bringing stuff into your model and sort of starting interaction. So we have the play button over here, which actually starts the simulation for whatever you're going to be doing. If you want to play the game, you have to click that. If you want to start editing the functionality, you want to look in blueprints. If you want to look at the settings of your level, you can look through settings. Similarly, you can also launch, which actually builds the game into reality, which lets you now send that off to other people. But that's the basic stuff up there. And you want to, of course, make sure you save frequently, and don't lose all your work and then complain to your tutor that you forgot something. So we have over in the left-hand side modes, these are building things. So we have something like over here in lights, we can drag, also as a note, you can usually just drag things into the world from a lot of these tabs. So similarly, if I want to get a second Simpsons house, I can drop it in. If I want a third Simpsons house, I can drop it in, but we probably only want one for the time being. But you are able to just drag stuff in. So I'm going to drag in a point light. You can see this is the area it affects. You can see a little widget on it, which lets you manipulate it, but we don't need that stuff for the moment. But all of these are letting you drop stuff into your map that do specific things that you haven't made. So a lot to do with, like, here's stuff to make sounds happen within your space. So if you want to have birds chirping in the background, you can do that. If you go over to the right, you can do painting of materials. This is like if you get a paintbrush and you want to apply something over the surface of your model, if you want to do that. You have landscape, which lets you sculpt out maybe mountains in the background if you want, or just sort of give a bit more context to your model if you didn't build very much. As you can see, of course, with this model, it kind of just stops. With landscape, you can add a whole bunch more to the outside of your model, just so you don't have people looking off the edge of the world. And if you want to sort of torture yourself, you can try and build models inside Unreal's geometry editor, but probably would recommend that you just build it in Rhino for the most part, but these do have some tools that you might want to explore. On the right-hand side, we have the world outliner. Within the world outliner, you have all of the things that are inside this level. If you click on them directly, it'll select that object, and likewise, if you click on the object, it'll select it in there. So you can see the Simpsons house is sitting here. Please don't sue us, Matt Groening. We have that selected and it'll show up in here. And as a bonus, if we look in details, it'll also now select that object. So we can see that it has the S house, nothing to do with 20th Century Fox, sitting in here, and we have a whole bunch of information attached to it. But that's the basics of the interface. Just always remember that if you ever lose things, it's in the Windows drop-down tab. And if you ever want to move things, you can just grab tabs and shift them around. But be experimental for the most part. If you do not like the way that Unreal is sort of formatted, do shift it around as you're liking. But for the remainder of this tutorial series, we're going to try and keep it relatively consistent so it looks quite similar. So for the most part, this is the layout that we'll be using, but you can change it afterwards to make it to your suiting and add new windows and remove others. But thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you in the next video about something else.
This project was supported by a UTS Widening Participation Strategy, First Year Experience Grant, funded through the Australian Government Higher Education Participation and Partnership Program. The videos were produced by Matthew Austin and Adrian Taylor.